So to generate some random data or some data using Excel, a number of ways you can do this. Just open up a new file. Okay, so if you want to just generate a column or a few columns of information, just random information, you can use the rand between function. So say this is sales of, or whatever it might be, I should say rice, pasta, potatoes, so base carbs. So we use the function rand between, so start to type in rand, double click on rand between, and it will create random number with a bottom value that you specify and a top value that you specify. So say you want rice values, sales to be between, they're never lower than say 250 units per day, and never higher than 510 units per day. It'll just create a random number, and you can drag that down and create, each time you drag it down it just creates a different number. You can do the same for pasta, rand between, and say in between 158 and 378 units per day. Just drag those down. Notice how when I do something, these numbers change all the time. So once you've got a set of numbers that you like, well, I'll show you what to do in a minute. So just run between. So we don't sell so many packs of potatoes. Say 35 to 89, and let's drag that down. You can drag it down as far as you want. You can drag these down if you want 200 data points. Keep on dragging down, and there's your data points. So once you're happy with the figures that you've got, you can stop them changing. Every time you do something with the random number generator, it changes the numbers. So just copy and paste values, and then it just locks them into these numbers rather than the actual formula. So if you want to mess them up a bit, you can put in some big numbers, put in some wrong numbers, you can put in some, I don't know, maybe had a promotion on pasta and sales shot up, and then they drop down the following week. So you can just tailor the data according to some sensible sort of pattern of sales if you're looking at sales information. So you can use that rand function to generate according to distributions, but it's much easier to use the data analysis tool pack for that kind of thing. Again, I'll just demonstrate. So data analysis tool pack that we add in, random number generation. So just go down the list until you find random number generation. So it asks you for how many variables you want it to generate. You could generate 100 variables if you want. So if you want to have 100 items that are stocked by a particular retailer, but you don't have to go overboard for the sake of this particular assignment. So let's just generate 5 new variables, and number of random numbers, well, we'll have 200. Again, you don't have to go overboard in terms of the number of values that you use for any particular variable that you're analysing as part of the assessment. Okay, so what you can do is you can specify which particular distribution that these numbers come from. Do they come from the normal distribution, from the binomial distribution, or the Poisson distribution? In other words, if you looked at their frequencies, or you plotted the or the normal curve, would the actual distribution of this data, would it tend towards a binomial, a Poisson, or a normal distribution? So we'll choose a normal distribution. As soon as you click on normal, it says, well, what mean do you want to use and what standard deviation do you want to use. So let's say we'll have a look at sales of, again, just fast moving consumer goods. I don't know, daily sales, we'll say a mean of 400. Standard deviation, well, the bigger the standard deviation, the more that they fluctuate. Entirely up to you as to what you use, but perhaps use something that's realistic. All sales will fluctuate a little bit, so standard deviation, say of let's say around 40, and then we just specify where we want to put the output. I'll pop it there, and there you go, there's your random numbers. So again, you can give these headers. You might want to change some of these values just to make them look a bit more realistic. No real world data tends exactly towards a particular distribution. Data tends to approximate to a particular distribution. And certainly when you've got enough data points, you're thinking about this analytics course and handling lots of data, certainly most data will approximate to the normal distribution. Some of it might be skewed, you have to be careful, but a lot of data approximates to the normal distribution, the normal curve. If you want to get rid of those decimal places, you can use the round function. So we're going to round up that number, and we don't want it to have any decimal points. So there, it rounds up to the nearest number. And if you actually get rid of them, I'll copy down that formula. It's just if you're talking about individual items, you obviously can't have 0.9198 of an individual item. So it just rounds it up for you. So whatever these might be, it might be toothpaste. Toothbrushes, toilet roll, I can't spell toilet, etc, etc, kitchen roll, tin foil. Okay, if we just get rid of this round function, just go and copy and paste values, you'll just see that the values in those cells are round numbers. It's entirely up to you if you want to do this. There you go, click on there, it's 420, whereas here it's all these numbers to many, many decimal places. Just a lot neater. So again, think about what you're trying to describe. What do you think is a realistic distribution to use for the thing that you're trying to describe? Doesn't have to be sales of things. It could be number of people coming into a particular, maybe a bank or a petrol station, or the number of parcels that are coming into a distribution centre. Daily demand for a certain item at the I don't know, the Amazon warehouse, etc. But it all depends on what kind of scenario you're looking to illustrate. So that is some ways you can generate just to simulate numbers in Excel.